We're surrounded by all this amazing technology in medicine, but it all depends on this hidden world of extreme purity. Think about the chip in your phone or life-saving vaccines. None of that would even be possible without a very special kind of fortress. So in this explainer, we're going to go inside that fortress, the clean room. But what are these fortresses even fighting against? I mean, what's the big deal? What is this invisible enemy that could totally ruin a vaccine or the tiny microchip that powers your entire phone? Well, here it is. The enemy is microscopic contamination. We're talking about incredibly tiny particles, dust, microbes, even little bits of skin cells that are just everywhere, all the time. For us, walking around every day, totally harmless. But in the world of high-stakes manufacturing, oh, they are absolutely catastrophic. And this is how you fight back. This is the solution. A clean room is a specially engineered environment designed to control and absolutely minimize that contamination, down to levels that are almost impossible to imagine. It really is a fortress against that entire microscopic world. Okay, so when we say clean, just how clean are we talking about inside one of these fortresses? It's not just about, wiping things down with a cloth. The level of cleanliness is defined by this incredibly precise, globally recognized language. And that language is called clean room classification. Basically, it's a formal standard that measures the number of airborne particles of a certain size inside a single cubic meter of air. What this does is it lets everyone, everywhere, talk about cleanliness using the exact same terms. No confusion. Now, what's really interesting here is that there are kind of different rule books depending on what you're making. You've got ISO 14644, which is the big global standard for most industries. But then, for making sterile medicines in Europe, there's the EU GMP Annex 1, which has an even more stringent set of grades, from D all the way up to the ultra-pure grade A. And to really put this into perspective, just look at this table. A grade A cleanroom, that's the absolute highest standard for making sterile stuff, allows only about 3,500 tiny particles per cubic meter. Now compare that to the air in a typical city. It has over 35 million of those same particles. That is, wow, 10,000 times cleaner. It's just a completely different world. But just building the fortress isn't enough. Not even close. Before it can ever be used, it has to pass this series of grueling tests to prove it's actually ready for battle. This is the validation process, and we can think of it as 4 critical trials. And these trials, they are not just for show. There's a really fundamental principle at stake here, and it's captured perfectly in this quote from the EU's Good Manufacturing Practices. The idea is, you can't just test the final product and cross your fingers hoping for the best. Nope, you have to prove that the entire environment is designed to guarantee quality right from the very start. So how do they do that? Well, the whole process is broken down into these 4 qualification phases. You'll hear them called DQ, IQ, OQ, and PQ. Just think of them as 4 gates the fortress has to pass through, starting with the blueprint and ending with a full-blown live-action test. First up, we've got design qualification, or DQ. This is all about the blueprint. It's about proving, on paper, that the design itself, everything from the airflow systems to the materials you're going to use, meets all those strict requirements before you even think about spending a single dollar on construction. Next up is installation qualification, or IQ. So once the cleanroom is actually built, inspectors come in and confirm that every single component, we're talking the big HEPA filters, all the way down to the tiny monitoring gauges, has been installed exactly as it was drawn in the blueprint. There is absolutely no room for error here. Okay, trial number 3 is operational qualification, OQ. Now we get to turn the systems on. With the room totally empty, we test to see if it can actually achieve and maintain its required level of cleanness. This proves the fortress can hold its ground even when no one's inside. It's what's known as its at-rest state. And finally, we have the ultimate test, performance qualification, or PQ. This is the live simulation. You've got people working, machines running, the whole shebang. This final trial demonstrates that the cleanroom can consistently meet its standards during actual, real-world production. So once the fortress is validated, you think the job is over, right? Nope. In fact, it's really just beginning. Now starts the never-ending watch to make sure it stays in a constant state of perfect control. And this constant vigilance is maintained by something called an environmental monitoring system, or EMS. You can think of it as the cleanroom's central nervous system. It tracks all the critical data, particle counts, temperature, humidity, in real time, 24/7. And one of the most critical things it tracks is air pressure. See this number, plus 10 pascals? That represents a positive pressure differential. All that means is the air pressure inside the cleanroom is just a tiny bit higher than the area outside. This creates this kind of invisible shield that is constantly pushing air and any potential contaminants outwards. Now, all of these individual controls are part of a much bigger master plan called the Contamination Control Strategy, or CCS. This thing connects everything, from the design of the building and its utilities to how people have to dress and be trained, to the cleaning protocols. It is the single document that outlines the entire battle plan for keeping things clean. And crucially, the fortress undergoes regular checkups. This is called revalidation. It's basically a scheduled process to repeat those qualification tests, making sure that over time, or after some maintenance, or if anything changes, the cleanroom is still performing exactly as it's supposed to. It keeps the fortress secure. So after all this complex engineering, this rigorous testing, and this constant monitoring, you have to ask the big question: why does any of this matter so much? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. This invisible world of extreme control, it's the bedrock of modern life. It's what ensures the things we rely on for our health and our technology are safe, effective, and, well, that they actually work. And the impact is just vast. We're talking about so many industries, life-saving pharmaceuticals and medical devices for sure, but also biotechnology, the semiconductors that power all of our electronics, and even the super precise components needed for aerospace. So whether it's a sterile injectable drug that's been approved by regulatory bodies like the European Commission, or the incredibly complex microchip inside the phone you're probably holding right now, their journey from an idea to a real thing passes right through one of these fortresses. Their quality, their safety, it all begins right here. So here's the crucial takeaway. The next time you use your phone or you rely on some modern medicine, just remember that invisible fortress. These sterile environments that we never ever see, they are the silent guardians of our health, and they are the very foundation of our entire technological future.